Right, my friends, I asked you lovely people on Twitter what tier list of characters you'd like to see, because the only time I'm going to be able to do scripted videos today, and I haven't finished my script, so I'm doing this instead. You lovely people voted for Samurai Warriors characters over Dynasty Warriors, which is yay! Then I won't have to spend 2 hours talking about how much Dynasty Warriors 9 was shit. So, this is going to be 100% factually accurate, and the only tier list acceptable in the eyes of God. Here we go. We're going to start with the worst characters first. So I'm going to reveal a tier at a time and then talk about the characters as briefly as I can. Hopefully it will just be like, I think they're shit or something. Everyone's obviously going to have their different opinions on characters, so let me know what characters you think are the best and all that faff. So let's begin. So in the shit tier we obviously have Goemon. Doesn't really add anything. His moveset is pretty bad. Yeah, just totally boring character. Then we have Yoshimoto Imagawa, a bit of a joke character for what is essentially the tutorial of the series. Story modes are always a joke, which, I mean, he could be a bit more serious. There's only one instance of him being serious in the whole series when he's like having to go at Ieyasu for, you know, some nonsense. Don't particularly like him. His moveset is fun, I should mention. Then we have Mitsunari, probably the most overrated character in my opinion. His design in number 4 is shit. His previous designs are actually pretty good, so I'm not sure what went off the rails there. He acts like a total cunt to everybody. Really arrogant for absolutely no bloody reason. Yeah, just a total knob really. Totally didn't deserve to win Sekigahara, so you know, fuck him, cunt. Masanori Fukushima, just an annoyance as well. A bit of a joke character. There's just something about him that I really do not like. Has really stupid reason for joining Tokugawa. Oh, I got in a fight with Mitsunari, blah blah blah, I'm gonna leave. That's like if you have a disagreement with your girlfriend over like who left the milk out of the fridge or something. She's like, right, I'm fucking leaving you for another bloke. So then we have the indifferent and dislike category. I will go over which characters I actually dislike and the ones I'm indifferent to. Mitsuhide, I'm kind of indifferent to. He doesn't really have a reason for, well, prior to Samurai Warriors 4, he doesn't really have a reason for like betraying Nobunaga. He's just like, I wanted to see you unite the land, so I'm gonna kill you because I'm a total fuckhead. I don't have a clue what he's thinking. His story is developed more in Samurai Warriors 4, but just something about him. Quite a lot of his hyper attacks are pretty bad as well. So yeah, don't really care about him. So Okuni, yeah, she doesn't really have a place in the story. She's just sort of there. I think her first instance is at like a Itsukushima for no bloody reason. Wants money for a shrine, yet seems to walk onto a battlefield to just be an annoyance. Yeah, pretty bad moveset. Not really a fan. Shingen, I don't really think he's that interesting. His role obviously gets improved in Spirit Sanada, but before that it's just like I don't really like his designs. In number 4 he looks amazing. His Japanese voice actor now is better because the previous guy died, which, you know, no disrespect, he just spoke like he was a fucking like zombie in the first couple of games. Like, his voice is so deep, like to me that's just, you know, noise, unfortunately. Nothing really, you know, against him, but just not a character I think is that good. Hideyoshi, bit of a joke character for somebody who's supposed to be the main guy to unite the land. Has his moments, but I think he's a character that Koei need to sort of improve upon. His moveset's are right, actually. Nene, which is basically a Kunoichi clone, Hideyoshi's wife obviously. The only reason why she's a ninja is because they removed Kunoichi, and I don't like her designs from 3 or 4. I think her best design is always going to be Samurai Warriors 2, and now she just like fucks around with Mitsunari, Masanori and Kiyomasa, and yeah, just don't really think she's that good a character. Musashi Miyamoto actually has a really good moveset, but I think he sort of changes his thing. In Samurai Warriors 2 he's like a Tokugawa loyalist, and now he's like loyal to Kanbei with like no real reason for it. Had no reason to be in the story at all. Could have just left him out. In Chronicles 3 has a bit more of a role because he's like a rival with Kojira in the actual story. Yeah, it's not really well explained in Samurai Warriors 4 at all, but you know. Motochika now, awful moveset, that's the only reason why he's there. Gracia, she used to be one of my favourite characters. In number 3, she has an amazing design, but since number 4, they just made her so annoying and look so bloody stupid. She's like a gothic Lolita with like twin tails. Like, no, you used to be cool, but now she's just like a Kashosho worshipper for some bloody reason. She used to have like a thing with Magarichi Saika, and now they don't. She like used to keep him in line without really sort of knowing why, and now they just threw that out because, you know, the Legend of Chigoku needed another character, so they, you know, just shoveled her in there. So Kiyomasa, fairly good moveset, although some of his hyper attacks are like grapples, but it doesn't really make sense because you can't grapple onto officers, which is like the main time you'd want to use it. Yeah, he's alright. I don't feel strongly either way. His reason for joining Tokugawa was a bit stupid as well. It's like, oh, Mitsunari, we're just gonna get into one argument and then leave. It's like, oh, you can't see the land needs Ieyasu. Who gives a shit? So Kanbei, same reason. Like, I don't find him an interesting character, and I don't particularly like his moveset. I don't hate him as a character because he has like an interesting thing with like Takakage and Motonari, obviously. And obviously the next one is Motonari, so might as well talk about him at the same time. I think he's a bit of an outlier. He's the only character that's born in the 15th century. He's born in like 1497, I think. So he's 13 years older than the next oldest character, which is Hisahide. So I think he's a bit of an outlier. In Samurai 3, his story's all made up. He's something to do with the Tachibana, so his moveset's alright. I don't really enjoy playing as him though. Kagekatsu, he doesn't really speak enough, and that's about it really. His characterization's like really poor. I just don't think he's that interesting. His moveset's alright, but yeah. Takakage, don't like the moveset. I don't know, his story's like all over the place. Not one I particularly enjoyed, but I don't really hate the character. He looks like one of my friends actually, which is pretty weird. Probably the most controversial one on this list, Naomasa. His story in 4-2 was actually pretty good, but they had a whole game just to introduce this character, which is like really fucking stupid. Yeah, they could have improved it, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I don't like his moveset. Loads of people seem to like it, but I think it's just all over the place. Like, I think it's just something they thought of at the last bloody second. Don't like him, but I don't hate him. So, you know. So now characters I like. Obviously this is going to be quite a big section. So Yukimura, I don't really think's been a good character until 4 or Spirit Sanada. In 1, 2 and 3 he just joins the Toyotomi for seemingly no reason. It's like never really explained that well. Yeah, or I mean that's why he's on the western side of the Osaka fight. It's never very well explained. His adult moveset is amazing, but his normal moveset now is just a bit boring after like 15 years. So yeah, not a character I particularly think is amazing, but he's pretty fun to play as. Oichi, one of the only characters to actually get a redesign and a new moveset. She's alright. I think they could improve her relations with Nagamasa and Nobunaga, but more of an interesting character because she also remarries Katsuie, which I think they've done a fairly good job, although obviously they like shunt the Katsuie storyline into like earlier bits, like at the retreat at Kanagasaki. That's like one of his bonus missions for no bloody reason. It's like obviously he has a crush on her, but she's already married, and then yeah, it's just getting a bit like, you know, soppy. So Hanzo, he used to be a really good assassin in the first couple of games, and then it's just like, yeah, he doesn't actually kill anybody in the later ones. Pretty good moveset. The story he has with Sasuke is actually developed the character a fair bit in Spirit Sanada. So yeah, I quite enjoy playing as him. Ranmaru basically has no point in any of the stories. He's just sort of there. I don't think there's any like character scenes with him in which are like relatively important. His only important bit is like in Chronicles 3 he gets revenge on Nobunaga for being killed by Shingen, and then in all the games he basically just defends Hinoji, and that's about it. Yeah, really strong moveset though. I enjoy playing as him, and his design in number 4 is exquisite, so there we go. Tadagatsu, yeah, obviously the strongest. His design in 3 is pretty poor, but his other 2, well, 2 and 4, his designs are amazing, and number 1 is a bit meh. I really enjoyed playing as him. Well, vastly improved his moveset with that last combo, so yeah, really beastly. Yeah, nothing really to say, but he doesn't really have much characterization. He's just sort of, you know, the trunk that Ieyasu sort of gets stood up by, or whatever you want to say. So Ieyasu, I'm going to say I don't really like the Tokugawa, but I think he's much more of an interesting character. His moveset's, you know, alright. He's more humanized than Mitsunari. You actually see like he has a reason for trying to unite the land, because he wants the conflicts to be over and stuff, and he just seizes the opportunity. So he's a bit of a schemer under the surface. I think the humanizing bit for me was in the Battle of Mikachikahara in number 4, when they've just got all like the helmets and he's like crying because his retainers like sacrifice their lives so he can live. I think that's sort of a turning point for this character. I kind of like him because of that. Some of his designs have been a bit hit and miss. Like in number 1 and 3 he looks a bit shit, but in 2 and 4 he looks pretty cool. Nagamasa, a bit of a hit and miss as well. Yeah, not really much to say. I quite enjoy playing as him, but sometimes his moveset just gets a bit, I don't know, there's just something about it that gets really old really quick. And some of his moves are all over the place, like the one where you just charge through enemies. You can't really aim that, but whatever. Yeah, nothing really much to say. I think he could be improved, obviously. Yoshihiro, yeah, I quite like this character. He's they sort of toned him down for Samurai Warriors 4 compared to the other ones. Like in number 3, he obviously fights both the Tachibanas at the same time. Yeah, I quite like his sort of gambling personality and all that. Kamitsugu, I quite like playing as his moveset because it's pretty funny when you do that move where he like spins the cards around and then fires all the lasers. Yeah, that's always been a personal favourite of mine. Does get a bit annoying with the whole I fight for justice and all that stuff. He's like Ma Chao, but like 20 times more annoying. I played Samurai Warriors 2 a couple of months back, and I remember he always goes, Lord Kenshin's inspiration is truly divine, or something like that. It's pretty cringe, but yeah, he's a pretty good character. Katsuie, yeah, his moveset's a bit hit and miss. Some of his attacks are like really strong, but then others are just like, why did they make this animation so dull? Really strong. I quite like him. His design's a bit weird with that, you know, bald spot on the top of his head. So he actually looks more like an actual samurai than most characters in this series. Yeah, he's a bit of a weird one. When he does the Battle of Shizukatake, he doesn't really have a reason for doing that, other than like, oh, Hideyoshi something or other. So I think they could improve that, just involve him a little bit more, maybe even take on some of like Nagahide Niwa's roles, because obviously they're not a playable character yet, but we'll see. Otherwise the early era of the Oda will get a bit too crowded. Muneshige, I don't really have anything wrong to say about this character. He is obviously he's like the polar opposite of his wife. He's more calm and collected and thinks things through, and not really like wanting revenge for his dad. Yeah, sorry, his adopted dad, which is Joan Takahashi. No, Joan Takahashi is his dad, isn't it? Yeah. And then he gets adopted by whatever the Tachibana main guy is called, which is obviously Ginshio's real father. So then they're like adopted brother and sister, but yet they're married, and then they like fuck. So yeah, whatever. Obviously, yeah, I think he's pretty cool. I'm not really as invested in him as like some of the other characters that are in higher tiers, but yeah, he's pretty cool. Hanbei, I quite like cheesing the game with him, like just using his helicopter special and just, you know, roaming around the place. I think that's pretty cool. So nothing else to really say. I don't really dislike him. He doesn't really live long enough for his story to really get going, but I liked him in number 3 where he basically turns on the Saito for just being incompetent and stuff. Obviously a master genius. I do prefer his design in 3 of this one though. So now Tora, loads of people probably would have put her a lot lower, but I think she's at least a somewhat interesting character. She's a bit of a placeholder for Naomasa before his introduction, especially like Sekigahara, but then I think they improved upon her in 4-2 where she passes the mantle to him when he's matured and stuff. I quite like her design. One of the females that actually did some stuff in the Sengoku era, slightly related to battle, because obviously she she's the cousin of somebody, and sorry, now Masa is her cousin, but also her adopted son. But obviously she's like the only heir of Naomori Lee, so it's a bit confusing. But yeah, I quite like it. A bit annoying with the whole sorry thing. But you know, you can just mute the TV when she comes on. I can't even remember this bloke's fucking name. Munenori Yagu. So his design is awful, but his moveset is unbelievably strong. Probably one of the most fun characters you can play as. I forgot to say this about Mitsuhide, so I'll say it here as well. They're in the camp of they've got a counter on their R1 attack, so you just do that when you think somebody's going to attack, and then you immediately do your mighty strike on them, which is, I think, is a pretty fun way of doing it. They could have the timing a bit stricter, so a bit more difficult, so you can't cheese the game like that. So I really like playing as him. They could improve upon his story that they go through with in Chronicles 4, so he doesn't really want to kill people and stuff. He's in the same boat as Kajura and Musashi in that sense. So yeah, he's quite an interesting character. They don't really explain why he sides with some people, but yeah, I just enjoy playing as him. Nobuyuki, yeah, I think he's a really good character. I prefer him over Yukimura, but obviously he's not as badass. I think the pursuit at, was it Yanagawa, whatever it's called, his, the stage where you only play as him in Spirit Sander was really well done. Shows off his tactical genius and that he's, Masayuki's son. Yeah, I just really enjoy playing as him. Solid moveset, good personality, and all that good stuff. So here's Hide. Yeah, he's quite the schemer. I quite like him. Not as much as some others. I think in 4.2, when the story solely focused on him, I think that was really strong, especially with the whole, truth behind Hanoji stage. I think that was really well done. Yeah, not the best moveset, but, still relatively fun to play as. Kajura Katakura, a bit of a weird one. I don't dislike him, but I'm putting him here because he complements Masamune very well. Pretty solid character. Also has the counter mechanic as well, but it's not as strong as some other characters. Yeah, nothing much to really say, except he always says, pardon me for something or other, in most of the stages. So Sasuke, he's not a bad character. I think he was quite well done. Yeah, nothing much to really say. Some of his attacks are all over the place. The one where he slinks around like a snake and then he causes the two things of fire. When you're trying to level him up, that move is basically useless until you actually unlock the end bit. Yeah, kind of disappointed that he's not been introduced into any of the other games afterwards, Warriors Archie 4 and stuff. Yeah, he's not a bad character. I quite like playing as him. The only story-related character now we have, can't remember her name. Muramatsu, I think her name is. She is obviously the only character that doesn't take part in any battles. I think she's at least somewhat interesting for that. Quite liked her. I think her design was really good, although it didn't make sense that, Nobuyuki and Yukimura got older and yet she still stayed as a 20-year-old girl. So yeah, it didn't really make sense. But yeah, I think she had quite good dynamics, although she does disappear in the second Ueda conflict because I don't think Koei really wanted to put her on any side. I think that's also the reason why she's not playable, is because they didn't want to commit to putting her on either side without putting her husband in. Because she is actually married to somebody. I think they are a Tokugawa officer, but I'm not 100% sure. I think that's why she is actually in the epilogue of Spirit Sanada, but whatever. So Katsuyori Takeda, we'll just go about his Spirit Sander appearance. He was actually quite a interesting character. He does interact with the kids and stuff. He's the guy who wanted good intentions, but had good intentions, but didn't carry them through. Easily manipulated, but yeah, he was a bit of an opposite to Masayuki, so you could play off him. Does obviously set up the whole thing of Masayuki just trying to want to survive and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't really have any faults with him. I'm quite happy with him just using the spear in future, but just change the moveset. Yeah, not a bad character, but also everyone hates him because he basically destroys the Takeda clan, but there are reasons for that. And then we have Hidetada, quite an interesting character. He's basically goes up against his father all the time until the end, where they basically realise they're gonna have to unite the land and stuff like that. I don't really get why they put him up against Yukimura in the final scenes of the game, which is just a bit strange. They didn't really have that relationship. it was more, his relationship was more to do with like just opposing his dad and stuff like that. So I kind of wish they just kept it like that, but you know, whatever. Yeah, pretty solid moveset. Well, yeah, obviously the sword is just, you know, fantastic moveset. So there we go. So now we're on to pretty good. So I'll try and keep this as brief as I can because we are now at 24 minutes. We talked about most of the characters. So Nobunaga, he would be in the top tier, but in Samurai Warriors 4, he got shafted a little bit. He basically just becomes a troll to mess with Hisahide and Mitsuhide. So yeah, it took his focus away from actually uniting the land. Yeah, I still like the Demon King aura and stuff. I much prefer him in obviously Samurai Warriors 3, where he actually is dedicated to just, you know, uniting the land under any cost, even if he has to, you know, mass murder people. So solid moveset, interesting mechanic with not being able to use most of your moves unless you use, you know, one of his charge attacks or, you know, special abilities. So, you know, it's pretty cool, and I think the barrier thing is also a pretty cool mechanic. So Kenshin, one of my favourites. Pretty poor designs across the board, but his Samurai Warriors 2 one is you know, pretty good. Kind of actually preferred him in Warriors Orochi, where he actually has to work with Shingen, you know, help everybody out, which I thought was pretty cool. You know, I just think the whole aura of him is, you know, amazing. I kind of wish Koei went with the whole, you know, rumour that he was actually a girl, that's why he didn't have any heirs. I don't really have much to say about him other than I just think there's something about him that's just so cool, and his moveset's pretty solid. So Kunoichi, yeah, a bit of a wild card here. Solid moveset, I'll give her that. Basically an officer assassin, as it were. Very focused on, you know, defeating officers over crowds. Even her hyper moveset, which, you know, is a bit weird. Her Samurai Warriors 4 design is really good. Enjoyed just, you know, seeing her reveal. Her previous designs are a bit, you know, weird. I just think she's quite interesting. Obviously has a thing for Yukimura, which gets played down in later games. Not really much to say other than I like her. Magoichi Saika, quite an interesting thing. Basically one of the main villains in Nobunaga's stories to begin with, obviously because Nobunaga just massacres all of the Saika mercenaries. A bit of a womanizer as well, so he has the jokey side and a serious side. His moveset's pretty interesting with the whole rifle, pretty solid as well. Yeah, not really much I can say that I dislike about him. Obviously he's a Nathan Drake looking motherfucker, but whatever. So Ina, I like the whole concept of using the bow as a moveset. Yeah, just what basically took Nobuyuki's place in the previous games as like an opponent for Yukimura, and splitting the whole, you know, Tokugawa Toyotomi thing. Yeah, I'm sort of losing my words now. Yeah, I think she's a really solid character. Basic bit of an antagonist for Yukimura in earlier games, but yeah, solid moveset and a good companion for Nobuyuki. So yeah, nothing to say about that. I do like that she's like opposed to Nobuyuki when they first meet, and then they obviously like fall for each other when Ieyasu basically says, oh, I want the man Nobuyuki in my forces and whatever. So yeah, pretty cool. Sakon Shima, an absolute badass. I think his design in number 4 is amazing. His moveset is really solid as well. The whole cannonball thing firing down. Yeah, just I think he really benefits from being a special type character. They could make him into the Tadagatsu wannabe, as they said they would. That's why his introduction was in the series. Like they wanted Western Tadagatsu, but they never really did that. Although, actually, going back, Muneshige is supposed to be like the strongest warrior of the West, but yeah, they never really play on that. They just like give it a passing mention. So yeah, I think he's just really cool. He's a bit of a weird one. He has like weird intentions. It's never really explained why he's with the Takeda, other than he's a Ronin and he wants to learn from him. He just sides with Mitsunari because he gets paid a lot. So yeah, whatever. So Ginshio Tachibana, basically a placeholder for her husband in the second game. Quite an interesting character because she's more dedicated to the revenge of like Joan and stuff in number 4. A bit of a rival for Toyohisa. Yeah, not really much else to say about her. I really like her design in number 4. Her moveset is quite solid, even though she changed. I actually prefer her with the hyper type moveset instead of special type. No, not special, normal type. She's got a really solid design, and I like her, the lightning god or whatever. So Kojiro Sasaki now, quite an interesting character. He is basically just a mass murderer, but I think the thing that did it for me is in Chronicles mode in number 4, it actually goes on about his backstory. He was like the young lord of a castle, and then he gets like, the castle gets burned down and he gets killed, supposedly killed, and then he comes back as someone else. So yeah, so he has a bit of a tragic past, but that doesn't really make sense for like the mass murder and stuff. I think his moveset is really cool as well, with the whole, he has like a Nodachi, but obviously when he attacks, like the demon blade thing comes out. I think that's pretty cool. So Ujiyasu Hojo, dedicated to his family. One of his officer defeat lines is a hearty shout out to my wife and family. So he's dedicated to his family from the core. Yeah, a bit of an interesting one. A really solid moveset, I should mention. A bit of a comic relief character, because he also says some, you know, quite funny things. He also says, I have no scars on my back because I never run from an enemy, which I think's pretty interesting. Yeah, he's basically a placeholder for all his sons as well in some of the games, because obviously they're not going to add like 7 Hojo sons in that. Yeah, nothing much to really say I dislike about him. He's obviously a tactical genius up there with Kenshin and Shingen, and if he had a few more battles to do, that would be good. Yeah, willing to make sacrifices when needed and all that good stuff. So Yoshitsugu Otani, probably my favourite Toyotomi officer, well, one of them after Sakon. He's a bit of a predeterminist. Like, he thinks things should just play out as it was, because he's always gone about, oh, I can't turn the tides of fate and stuff like that. Sides with Mitsunari, even though it's basically hopeless. Yeah, I just like the way they played him out with Takatora and, you know, himself, and I thought that was quite a good, you know, storyline. So Toyohisa, amazing moveset. I really enjoy playing as him. I think his story's a bit hit and miss with the whole, oh, basically I'm going to sacrifice myself in each battle, and then Yoshihiro's like, you shouldn't sacrifice your life now, you've got to find a better cause and stuff like that. So that was a bit pointless. Admittedly, I did laugh when he killed Naotora in number 4, but that was, yeah. He's a bit of a badass. Yeah, if they tightened up his story, it'd be so much better. But yeah, he's pretty solid. So Lady Hayakawa, I think her introduction was probably one of the better ones in Samurai Warriors 4. Really solidified the Hojo as a really good clan. They're all family and all love each other and all that stuff. It bridged the gap between sort of Kai and Ujiyasu. I think she has quite a solid moveset as well. Nice when you get because you get the buff where she like bounces the ball on the floor and then increases the projectiles and all that stuff. So yeah, she was pretty good. Although I think one of her story in number 4.2 was better. It actually explained why she actually continues to fight instead of just, you know, looking over the lands of Kanto. So she's a bit hit and miss with that bit of the story, but I think they solidified all that. So Masayuki Sanada now, some of his moveset is shit, but overall it is pretty good. I really liked the whole story arc in Spirit Sanada. Obviously getting a bit of an advantage because they have more characterization than everybody else in this series. He was a really solid character. I thoroughly enjoyed playing as him. Really good to introduce a character like that in the series. I think I wouldn't like him as more if he was introduced in an earlier game. That might just be me, but yeah, really solid. Cha-Cha, I know loads of people don't really like this character and think, oh, Hideyori Toyotomi should have been added, but I think she was a good replacement for him. It actually gave a reason for Yukimura to continue to side with the Toyotomi, and obviously if you introduce a character at the end, you have to go through all this characterization in one chapter for Yukimura's return, and obviously if you have Cha-Cha there from the beginning of the story to basically its end and give her a whole character arc, that's much more fulfilling than, you know, introducing somebody like Hideyori. I do like that. Loads of people say, oh, they didn't go on about her and Hideyoshi having a child and stuff. It's like, but does that really matter? We all know that anyway, and you're getting annoyed that something you already know isn't in a game, which most of it is fictional anyway. Just absolutely bizarre. So I really liked her. I liked how she played off all the other female characters and stuff. Made her a bit of an outlier in that she is depressed for most of it, because obviously her parents are killed by Nobunaga, and then she's basically abducted by Hideyoshi, which is like one of the people that was involved in that. Yeah, overall a pretty solid character. I would be interested to see how they include her in future titles, but you know, that's just me. So, now we have the best characters, the ones I enjoy playing as the most, the ones I think are most interesting. So Keiji Maeda, obviously a vagabond, really good character in both terms of story and moveset. His story is more involved in obviously Samurai Warriors 4, where he's a bit of a rival for his uncle. Everyone looks up to him, and then he obviously just like pisses off with the Date and then goes to the Uesugi. That's not really explained why he ever goes to the Date, other than like a passing mention, but that doesn't really matter. Really solid moveset. I like his whole personality of like he's the wild man. It's a bit hit and miss in some places, like it's more overdone in something like Samurai Warriors 3. But yeah, overall one of my favourite characters, one of the characters I latched onto when I first started playing the Samurai Warriors series. So Masamune Date, a character that's significantly improved in the later games. In Samurai Warriors 4 he matures a lot with the introduction of Kojiro Katakura. Obviously he's like a power-hungry maniac at the beginning. He basically just slaughters everybody in Oshu and proves himself the best with like inferior numbers and stuff like that. And then he basically causes a rebellion just to fuck with Hideyoshi and stuff. But I think when Kojiro gets injured and like he's gonna die, or supposedly die, that's like sort of the turning point for this character. Really matured, yeah, just fantastically written, I think, for a character in this series with what little they have to go with. And his moveset is pretty decent as well, other than they removed, you know, the one where he shoots out the laser beams from his pistols after doing that upwards sword strike, because, you know, they had to add him as a hyper type. So no, I think character, that is, not me just saying no, Nohime, as it were, a really solid character. Her character changes in each story. Like in number 2 she's loyal to Nobunaga, and in 4, but she kills the Saito clan, so you know it's a bit hit and miss because they have to focus on, you know, other stuff there. In 1 and 3 she's like dedicated to killing Nobunaga, but in 3 they also, the reason for like wanting to kill him is if he's not ambitious enough to go through with his plan to unite the land and all stuff like that. But then she obviously had a change of heart to die at Hinoji and stuff. So yeah, quite an interesting character, brilliant design. I like the whole hidden blades thing. I think some of the weapon designs are a bit shit though. Her 4th and 5th weapons are, you know, amazing looking, and yeah, I just think she's really cool. From 1 to 3 where she throws the bombs, that's a bit shit, but thankfully they got rid of that for the hyper attacks in number 4. So yeah, I just really like her. So Kotaro Fuma now, another interesting character. So Samurai Warriors 2, because he's the only Hojo character, he basically has nothing to do with them other than just like appearing at Odawara and then ambushing the Toyotomi forces. And then one thing he does is he goes and fucks with Ieyasu for the rest of the game and basically unites the land using Ieyasu as a puppet, and then just like, you know, pisses off. In number 3 they actually, with the introduction of the 2 other Hojo characters, he actually has more of a role. He's a bit of a troll because he still appears in some stages as just like a random enemy, because, you know, it's more interesting to have a playable character as an enemy than, you know, a bunch of generics. His personal ending in number 3, he actually sacrifices himself for the rest of the Hojo forces, because he's basically just like chaos personified, and he knows that if he won't be able to save them if he doesn't sacrifice himself. He actually fakes his death though, and he like talks through the avatar of a dog to Kai, and she like cries and stuff. It's quite a sad and interesting ending, but yeah, I think he really sort of grows there. And then in number 4 in number 3 as well, in Ujiyasu's story, he has like a blood pact with Ujiyasu, that is, for why he's like in servitude to him and stuff. Just a bit of a troll, a bit more of a serious and weird member of the Hojo clan, but whatever. So Toshie Maeda, one of the characters that first drew me into like the gameplay of the series. So the first time I actually played as him was in Warriors Orochi 2, because I didn't have 4XL. But I think his design was just like super cool. I used to have my hair in like all spiky stuff like that, like his design in that game. I just really liked the idea of somebody using the spit like another weapon for their charge attacks. it's a bit of a weird one. I think his moveset is incredibly solid. I don't think there's a bad attack in it. Yeah, nothing else really to say. I think they never do justice with him, with what he actually accomplished in his life. Obviously, there's like the 3 unifiers of Japan, which are Nobunaga, Hideyoshi, and Ieyasu. But then like there's a 4th one, which is basically him, because he's like he's sort of like the foundations for the Toyotomi clan. He's like the rock that Hideyoshi relies on and stuff like that. Yeah, he was also given the most rich region in the whole of Japan. So yeah, he was a bit of a loony. I think they could improve like him being more of an important part of like the story breakdown, because the Sekigahara conflict is because he dies and he can't hold Mitsunari and Ieyasu in line. But yeah, I really solid character. I do like that he has the war paint, a bit like KG in number 4. So yeah. Then we have Kai, certainly one of my favourite characters, well obviously because she is the mascot for the Koei Rare Weapons channel, which you can check out below. Amazing character, certainly improved with Samurai Warriors 4, not that there was anything wrong with her, because her personal story is like, she's involved with the Takeda and then the whole Hojo, and then she switches loyalties to Toyotomi because obviously the Hojo are defeated. But yeah, she one of the only females that actually went into battle. Obviously when she was like 19, she killed a Sanada retainer. Yeah, I really like that aspect of her, that they actually based it on somebody that actually did something in battle. Obviously Battle of Oshi Castle is the one where she's basically a commander, has the most dialogue in that stage. Really solid moveset, only one bad attack, I would say. Amazing design. I was really worried when they announced Samurai Warriors 4, and I was like, oh no, what's Kai gonna look like? And imagine my surprise when she actually looked fucking amazing. So yeah, certainly one of my favourite characters. And then we have Aya, who is a bit of a MILF, or GILF as it were, because she's actually older than Kenshin. I know that's weird to say, isn't it? One of the most interesting characters. She's one of the only characters that Kenshin is actually afraid of. Keeps some of the other Uesugi officers in line. She is really fantastic for that. Her moveset is really solid as well. You know, basically a magic staff that can summon, you know, ice and all stuff like that. Yeah, not really much to say. If you play as Kenshin in 4 Empires, there's a scene where a magician appears as the thing they fear the most, and Aya is what the magician turns into for him. So yeah, she's quite an interesting character, a bit cruel, but also she's like cruel to be kind, and obviously has a bit of a rivalry with No, which isn't really expanded, but yeah, really solid. I really liked her design in number 3, where she has the hood up, but you know, you can't have everything. Then we have Takadora Todo, which I think is probably my favourite male character. He's quite interesting. You can cheese the game by playing as him as well. If you put the death element on any of his weapons and then just use his special, it activates with every single attack, and it gets an elemental boost as well, so you can basically just one-shot anything. So incredibly cheesy for that, but I also like the whole thing about him switching lords based on like if he thinks they're worthy, because he joins one of Hideyoshi's brothers or relatives or whatever. Is it Hidenaga Hashiba? But then obviously he falls out of him because they're not like actually dedicated to, you know, trying to unite the land and stuff. So he's quite an interesting character. I like the dynamic he had with Yoshitsugu and Yoshitsugu, Nagamasa, and all that stuff. So that's like the setup for his road to just wanting the land to be united and stuff like that. I really enjoyed his, you know, story. Toned down a tiny bit in Spirit Sanada with the introduction of Cha-Cha, where he basically wants her to join him and stuff, and they want to look over her and all that. So yeah, not really much bad to say about him at all. I think he's honestly a really solid character. Looks a bit like a guy out of a boy band, but you know, that's just how they designed him. And then finally we have Kashosho. I know loads of people would put her further down, but I think her design is so weird and out there. I think it actually really fits with like just, variety of this game. Bit of a weird one, obviously. She basically attacks with what I would basically consider the cloak of levitation from Doctor Strange, in a way, because it's basically like a magic robe that flies around the place. I probably the character I enjoy playing as the most. Some of her attacks go a bit all over the place, when she like flies through the air and stuff. I like the whole aspect of her charming all these men into doing her bidding and stuff. So she's basically like Aya, but she actually isn't loyal to anybody because she hasn't got any relatives. And then I like how Motochika like chains her down, and because obviously everybody she has interest in like eventually dies, and then obviously that she thinks that's going to affect Gracia, and then Motochika's like, no, you can overturn your fate, you should let the rebellion in your soul come out and all that stuff. So yeah, well, the first stage you can actually play, so it's quite interesting. Really fits into her charming men personality, because she has 2 bonus missions where you go and charm somebody on the other side and then their brother, and then Motochika's like, that woman is terrifying. So yeah, really, really interesting character. So there we go, that is the most factually accurate tier list for a Samurai Warriors character thing. Obviously certainly a lot better than other people who only like characters because they make, poor hentai of them or whatever. And that is actually referring to another YouTuber, which I'm not going to mention any names, but I'm sure you can probably gather who that is. Even I, the Lord Sex Gravy, am not that sad. So thank you very much for watching. If you did, let me know what characters you like, what opinions you disagree with, which obviously nobody can. That's a joke, obviously. Just, let me know which characters you like, which ones you dislike. Don't forget to follow my Koei Rare Weapons channel, which I'm currently working through Dynasty Warriors 4, and then I will go to Samurai Warriors 4 2 and do everything on Nightmare for a challenge. And then follow me on Twitter at the handle below. Everything will be in the description box where you can make one of these yourself. You can even send it to me on Twitter if you want, and then call me out and call me a fucking idiot or whatever. Let me know. Thank you very much for watching if you did, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.